So let's jump into some third-party news. I know we haven't been talking about third-party in a while because of the recent big reveals in relation to Transformers on the official capacity, but let's go into that of Transformers The War Within, and more specifically, a third-party item in relation to that amazing little mini-series and small micro-continuity of Transformers. Now, for people who don't know what The War Within is, The War Within was a mini-series. There was technically 3 of them done by Dreamwave Comics, and it was a pre-Cybertron Generation 1 continuity kind of story, talking about the early days of Optimus Prime and when he was leader. This was a really good little mini-series. It introduced characters like the Fallen to us, and, just gave us a lot of really cool iconic looks and designs that, unfortunately today, the way Hasbro is, kind of probably is never going to revisit because of just how they want to kind of handle now pre-Cybertron and the way the toy lines are being done. But back in the day, The War Within was very popular, and Don Figueroa, who really was the brainchild of all of this stuff, Don Figueroa, an amazing artist back in the day in Dreamwave, who pretty much went on to do other robot stuff in his own kind of thing. But back in the day, he was just the nucleus of The War Within. And Hasbro had so much confidence in him that there was a whole subline called Transformers Titaniums that really was all Don Figueroa. He designed every single one of those figures, and he made all the calls on which characters that they want, which designs of which characters they wanted to do. And it was just this giant, beautiful little line. It had its issues here and there in terms of looseness, but it was what it was. And a lot of Dreamwave War Within designs ended up in that line as a result of it, which was pretty cool. Now, I love Dreamwave. I have a small little place in my heart for it. And any new War Within kind of designs that show up through third party will always get my attention. And here's one of those cases. And that is from Weibo here has announced that the new third-party company, Civil Warrior, has unveiled their Civil Warrior Giant Grant figure, which is a War Within Optimus Prime figure. Now, War Within Optimus Prime, again going back to the Transformers Titaniums line, has only had 2 figures in all of Transformers' releases. They had the standard 6-inch, and they had the untransformable die-cast 3-inch. Now, that 6-inch figure, while it does its job, and I'm looking at it right now because I love that figure, but while it does its job, it was limited by that of what Titaniums was capable of doing, especially since Titaniums was also done with a little bit of the micro machines and / previous Galoob people helping with Don Figueroa and making this thing. It was a reminder of sometimes how die-cast and plastic in the modern age just doesn't work today. And especially with the limited budget that was probably given to the Titanium's toy line. And it was pretty good. I mean, by today's standards, it's probably, amazing in terms of, value. But back then, I mean, I think that if they would have done an all-plastic product, it probably would have came across a lot better. But now we have this one here, Civil Warrior with their General Grant. And I like this a lot. I mean, they say that it's a stylized version of the War Within Optimus Prime. But I mean, in all honesty, with Don Figueroa, everything is stylized to begin with. And this is a really good representation of that character. It looks really, really nice. And it says here that in robot mode, it's going to stand 25 centimeters tall. And it has a little twist with that too, in that unlike the original Titanium's release, which was just the cab front, this one is also going to come with War Within Optimus Prime's trailer. Now, for people who don't realize, because a lot of people, they just kind of associate it with that iconic robot mode and that iconic cover from War Within #1 that was like a gatefold cover. Optimus did have a trailer in War Within. It appeared, I believe it was in issue 2 of the first miniseries. And they did an incredible job of recapturing that issue #2 first appearance of his trailer. I guess we'll call it roller in this case. And they did a very good job, and it's literally every small little detail from the side turbines to the top vents. It's all there. They did a very good job at recapturing that. And considering that the original trailer in the comic was primarily gray to begin with, minus obviously the turbines were blue and stuff, the prototype here that they show in original gray is going to be more or less how it's going to look. Obviously, they're going to probably put a little more paint to make it pop. But this looks really good. And the extra twist here, as I mentioned before, is that, and this wasn't done in the comics, but it's just one of these things where it's like, hey, might as well do something with it, is that the trailer also combines with the War Within Optimus Prime. And if I had to compare it to something, it's very reminiscent of that of Cybertron Optimus Prime or Galaxy Force Optimus Prime, in that you have like the big wings, the feet, and the two big guns under the arms there that really add to all of them. It's very Cybertron Optimus Prime in design there. And it's just the way that I see it is this is a nice addition to anyone who's a big War Within fan. I mean, I think that, you know, we've retired that old titanium toy, and we really want something to be a good representation of that character today, and this is a good example of that. And so it says here 30 points of articulation, and here's an interesting LED lights in the chest. I'm going to assume maybe the headlights. It doesn't really show very well in the images here where those LEDs would go, but I guess maybe the headlights would be, and hey, if it lights up, that's awesome. It doesn't affect the transformation, because if the titanium is at any indication, it's doable to have those lights in the chest and it doesn't affect anything. I'm really excited about this. Again, third-party stuff that does stuff that Hasbro will never really go about. I don't think Hasbro is going to revisit Don Figueroa's, early 2000s Dreamwave designs. I really don't. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe one day they'll get crazy and do something like that, but I really don't think they will, let alone something that's more along of that high-end, generation/masterpiece kind of tooling. So I'm really excited about this. There's no information about prices or pre-orders just yet, but when that news breaks and we get some better images, I'm going to talk about it, because this is something I'm really excited about.